Courage to find your own order amid the cosmic chaos. Dear readers, have you ever felt that the world is too complex, like an insurmountable puzzle? Perhaps you've often felt uncertain about the meaning to find in the countless events and people you encounter daily. We instinctively dislike chaos and have a strong desire to assign order and meaning to everything. This essay explores the deep psychology of our inner self and introduces a special book that prompts fundamental questions about how we understand the world. The book I want to introduce today is Witold Gomberwick's novel Cosmos. When you hear the title, you might think of the famous science documentary by Carl Sagan or perhaps a scientific book on the cosmos. However, Gomberwick's Cosmos is not a direct exploration of the stars at night or the mysteries of the universe. Instead, it is a profound reflection on the universe within us, the way we perceive the world, create order, and sometimes lose our way or discover new things within that order. This book transcends a simple story, raising fundamental questions about how we ourselves interpret and understand the world, offering readers an opportunity to look more deeply into life through reading. For those who feel distant from the word's knowledge and cultivation and think reading is difficult, this novel will awaken your thoughts and senses, providing a new experience. Gomberwick's, who is he? And what is the story of form? First, I briefly need to introduce the author. Witold Gomberwick is considered a master of 20th century Polish literature and created a unique and provocative literary world. He viewed humans as continuously creating and resisting the form within our relationships with others. What exactly does this form refer to? Simply put, it encompasses the rules, etiquette, attitudes toward others, and even the ways we think, everything we encounter in social life. We act as good children to some, capable employees to others, and good friends to yet others. All these roles are forms assigned to us either by ourselves or by others. Gomberwick believed that these forms both liberate humans and simultaneously oppress them, enforcing hypocrisy. His works constantly explore this form and resistance to it, as well as the imperfect and immature existential state of humanity. Cosmos is also written on this philosophical foundation. It shows how our instinctual efforts to impose order on the external world harden into form, sometimes distorting reality or even plunging us into confusion. Finding order amid the chaos in Cosmos. Now let's delve into the story of Cosmos. The novel begins with the protagonist, Witold, a character reflecting the author himself, and his friend Fuz, who find themselves staying in a quiet countryside boarding house. This seemingly ordinary boarding house begins to reveal strange events. The story starts with trivial and coincidental occurrences: a sparrow found hanging in the backyard, a peculiar branch hanging from the ceiling, and a peculiar wrinkle on the boarding house owner's daughter's mouth. Initially, these appear to be isolated and coincidental events. However, Witold and Fuz begin seeking patterns and meaning within these fragments. Seeing the sparrow hanging by its neck, they go beyond the simple deduction that someone killed and hung it, instead believing that there must be more meaning behind it. From this event, they begin assigning connections to everything around them. If the hanging sparrow is considered A, they find a similar B in the branch hanging on the ceiling, and another C in the shape of Lena's mouth. Even in the movement of stray cats, the position of stones, or stains on walls, they discover meaningful signs. Importantly, these connections they discover are not based on objective facts but are entirely subjective interpretations and imagination. They suspect, speculate, and sometimes fall into near-certain delusions. The novel vividly and mysteriously portrays the process through which these two youths compulsively search for order in the random and fragmented fragments of the world, ultimately constructing their own cosmos. This constructed cosmos is not an objective truth of the external world but a chaotic mirror image reflecting their inner anxieties and desires for meaning. Ultimately, their cosmos distorts reality, blurs the boundary between illusion and reality, and brings confusion to readers as well. This book constantly poses questions to us: is everything we believe we understand about the world truly objective truth, or merely a form we have created ourselves? Questions Cosmos poses to us. Cosmos in everyday life. Now, let's discuss why this book is especially useful for those without extensive knowledge or cultivation and the insights it offers. 1. The strong habit of assigning meaning. All of us live by assigning meaning to the world, just like Whittled and Foos. For instance, when we find a single hair on our bed in the morning, we might interpret it as a simple hair or as a sign that we didn't clean thoroughly yesterday or that hair loss is worsening. When a friend's expression seems unhappy, we may worry and speculate about various meanings. Gombrowicz, through extreme scenarios, shows how powerful this assigning meaning behavior is, often dominating our lives. We assign meaning to everything we passively encounter, and these meanings collectively form our own cosmos. This book invites us to reflect on this process. 2. The boundary between subjectivity and objectivity. Is the world we see truly objective, or merely an interpretation filtered through our own glasses? This book strongly suggests that objective truth is ambiguous and that everything is subject to interpretation. People often interpret a single event entirely differently. On a single news story, left and right may offer completely different views, and the same joke from a friend may be viewed as humor by one person and as criticism by another. This novel makes us realize how personal and subjective our way of perceiving the world is and highlights the importance of trying to understand others' perspectives. 3. The violence and freedom of form. Gombrowicz believed humans constantly create forms in social life. In Cosmos, Whittled and Foos impose their own form on surrounding objects, stating, "This is connected to that," or "This is a sign of that." Our lives as well are often trapped in these forms. We fall into forms such as "you must behave in a certain way for your job" or "you must live a certain way at a certain age." This book shows how these forms can narrow our views and cause us to lose our original self. At the same time, by realizing that these forms are artificial, we gain the possibility of breaking free and finding new freedom. 4. Developing the muscles of thought. This book demands readers to continuously question and find their own answers. Since there is no fixed answer, readers must arrange their thoughts and make judgments. This process is akin to developing the muscles of thought. Just as we train our body muscles at the gym, reading this book helps develop our thinking power, our critical thinking. Instead of passively receiving information, this book encourages us to actively seek meaning, question, and attempt new interpretations. For those who feel lacking in knowledge or cultivation, the ability to think independently and ask questions is the most essential starting point of true cultivation. 5. Artistic discovery in everyday life. Cosmos demonstrates how ordinary things in daily life can gain special meaning through our perceptions and interpretations. A sparrow hanging by its neck, a branch on the ceiling, or even a distorted smile, these are all vividly described by the author as if each were an artistic masterpiece, stimulating the reader's imagination. This book teaches us to develop the artist's eye to discover new beauty and meaning in our mundane surroundings. When daily life feels dull and lifeless, this book changes our perspective, allowing us to see how everything around us can carry special significance. An invitation to a new experience through reading. Gombrowicz Cosmos is not just a book about reading a story but one that leads us into deep contemplation about our perception and mode of existence. Initially, the story may seem confusing, and the characters' behaviors might seem hard to understand. Yet, it is precisely within this confusion that we discover the true value of this book. We live surrounded by countless uncertainties, anxieties about the future, misunderstandings in relationships, and the world's absurdities. We exist within chaos where everything is not clearly explained. Cosmos honestly shows us how we seek meaning in such chaos, how we create our own order, and how fragile and sometimes comically absurd we are in the process. True knowledge and cultivation are not just about knowing many things. They come from the ability to understand the world, to ask questions, respect others' perspectives, and humbly accept life's complexity. Cosmos can be a great tool for developing such abilities. This book does not give you ready-made answers. Instead, it invites you on a journey to ask your own questions and find your own answers. Through this novel, you will experience a new way of seeing the familiar world, discover hidden meanings, and ultimately understand yourself more deeply. You may sometimes feel frustrated by unanswered questions, but all these processes will broaden your intellectual horizons and enrich your life. I earnestly encourage you to take the courage to open cosmos and experience the joy of creating your own cosmos.